Girl? Oh, is it fun? Let me just mute my microphone for a moment. rid of this message. Check the volume levels. You can hear me, that's fine. Okay, we're good. Just going to get the microphone out of my own way. And check the level of the music coming out of YouTube as well, just so we have some quiet background music. Okay, I will write the route up though and copy it into as a pinned chat, I guess, into the route. EGLC DVR is a VRR station. We are not going to be landing unless we have to along the way, so we'll just follow the route. LEQ BUB ANT RTM SPL, which is obviously a Schiphol, and EHLE. I'll pin that message in the live stream chat. Hi Chris, nice to see you. I'm just making sure my laptop alongside has got a big enough screen to show the stream. It's all good. Okay, so let's go and get up. This is the new black square turbo Bonanza. So I don't think the livery actually reflects what it actually is. Yeah, it still says G36, but it's not. I think it's A36T or something, some combination of those. So, you know, meaning analog and turbo. Okay, let's go and take off the yokes while we're busy getting things running. So we need to put some fuel in it. Weight and balance. We're going to fill it up to about 75 or 70% would do. We're still well within our maximum takeoff actually. Let's go for 75%. Okay, batteries on. Let's just check the simulator volume itself before we get going. Turn it up so you can hear it. So batteries are on, mixture is rich, propeller is high RPM. Well, let's just check the weather, make sure I've got live weather on. It's no fun unless you've got live weather. There we go, it's good. Check the fuel tank, we're using left main. Fuel pump to high, just for a few seconds. Throttle open a little bit, and we have an engine. Pump can come back off, alternator can go on. We didn't use the beacon light, a bit naughty. We'll calibrate the altimeter. We're sat on our own now, there's nobody around. Oh, there was a guy stood there, whoops. Do we need the lights on? It's probably quite bright now, isn't it, this time of day? We will put the taxi light on there though. What's the cabin temperature? Let's put that in centigrade. Oh, it's a bit cold, and yeah, we've got the cold light showing. So we'll pull out the cabin heat. There's nobody else in the cabin, so we don't need rear cabin heating on. Let's see how quickly that reacts. It's coming up quite quickly, look, 8 degrees. Obviously if we pull it all the way out, it will shoot up. Just give it a few moments to warm up. And while we're waiting for that, we can go and turn on the avionics. Wait for them to come up. And transponder on. Let's go and check what condition the airplane's in. It's in 100%, which is good. Weather radar is on. 14 degrees. Okay, let's go and lower that cabin heating down a bit now then. Waiting for the GPSs to come up, and then we will program our route. Just capturing satellites. Plenty to choose from. Okay, flight plan. We are going to start at EGLC, which is London City. Enter. Then we are going to overfly Calais on the way to Lille. So, also we're going to go to DVR, so Dover, before we leave the British Isles. So the Dover VOR. Then LEQ. I'll have a look at this on the map in a moment just to show you the route. So there's Lille. BUB, which is another VOR along the way. BUB, Brussels, in Belgium. And then ANT, which should be Antwerp. Antwerp, there we go. In Belgium, that's correct. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Clear, clear. I meant to do that. After ANT, we are going to RTM, which is Rotterdam. So RTM, Rotterdam, enter. Then on to SPL, which is Schiphol. And then I'll enter, yep, Schiphol in the Netherlands. And we are going to land at Leystad, which is EHLE. I don't fancy landing at Amsterdam. Lelystad, sorry. I don't fancy landing at Amsterdam because it's an international airport. It's not the place for a GA aeroplane to be. Okay, so we should be able to put this on the first page, which will give us numbers along the way, which we can correspond with the map, and it will give us ETAs for each leg and so on and so forth. Reza Omar is saying, do you use VATSIM? I do sometimes, but I don't ever broadcast it because I don't feel comfortable broadcasting the ATCs, you know, because it's a bit of a grey area. I mean, they don't mind you broadcasting it, I don't think. I did read up on it a few weeks ago. But I do fly online with a group who don't like it being broadcast. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. So, if you are worried about procedures and comms for radio telephony with aviation, there's a really good group I fly with called My Air, and they will let you sit in on a group flight. And it's kind of a nice way to learn, because if you are not comfortable, you can fly along at the back and like be one of the last to hit the controllers along the way. So you get to hear everybody else's communications, so you know, because they're all doing the same route broadly, you get to know exactly what's going to be expected of you, of your conversation. And all it really is, as you're going through sectors, is announcing yourself and the plan you're on, where you are, what you're doing. And then they'll confirm that with you and, you know, say fly as filed. Obviously, if you go to vectors on approach, then that's a little bit different, but again, they're there to help you. I think that's the biggest stumbling block most people get, is they're worried to death about saying the right thing, but at the end of the day, ATC is there to help you. Jungle Sim has arrived. Awesome, so glad I've got to catch you live. So yeah, if you search for My Air online, you'll find them, and they fly every Tuesday and Thursday night. Usually the big jets. So in a way, the big jets are easier to do ATC with because they're always, or almost always, on autopilot, apart from finals maybe sometimes. Yeah, Jungle Sim has got a good tip there. If you really are worried about VATSIM, about kind of jumping in, there's nothing to stop you loading the client, what's it called, vPilot, in observer mode, and just sit at the corner of a big busy airport and tune between the different frequencies and listen in. It's not too difficult. Let me just turn this music down a bit. Okay, so engine's running. We're busy burning fuel while we're sat here, which is probably not the best. So we're at London City, and we may as well get on our way. So we've got taxi lights on. Let's just reacquaint ourselves with what we've done so far. We're about to go out for the runway, so we'll put the pitot heat on. We'll put the landing lights on, although strictly speaking we shouldn't until we've turned around at least. We're not going to need any kind of oxygen or anything. The runway is 09, so we'll go and change the heading bug round to our direction of travel after takeoff, which will be 90 degrees. Or I think it will. Where's the wind? Oh, we got a side wind of 8 knots, but that's nothing. We'll set our course as well for that same direction, just to make a bit of sense. Okay, shall we get going? So, flaps to take off. I'm not going to push back, we've got lots of room here. He says as he clips a wing on a building. And then, I wish there was ragdoll physics to chop the people up. I know that's a bit gruesome, but it would be funny. Maybe if they made them less realistic. Maybe if the people were more like Kerbals from Kerbal Space Program or something like that. It would be quite amusing. Did I set the... I'm just going to check. Yeah, I'm on the North Europe server. So anybody that uses transmitter as well, I'll go and bung that on. So North Europe. And I'll just say my actual name on here for the call sign and connect. So what that will do is broadcast my position on little nav map. So if you are using transmitter, you'll see the little red aeroplane for me. Yeah. Okay. Whoa, that crosswind really is quite strong. Just holding the plane with the rudder on the centre line, or attempting to. And we're up. London behind us. Yeah, look at the wind pushing us sideways. Okay, so we come back a little bit off the mixture, the propeller speed. We can close the cowl flaps. The Thames estuary out ahead of us. We're going to fly off towards Dover. So I'm just trimming the elevators. Okay, so autopilot on, heading mode on. We'll go for 3,000 feet initially at 500 feet a minute. That's interesting. Oh, I didn't arm it, did I? There we go. 1,000 feet a minute, that will do. Get there at a sensible rate. Okay, now we're on autopilot, we can go and admire the views. Although we've already left London behind, haven't we? Should we do from outside? While I think of it, put the strobes on, turn the taxi lights off. What else have we forgotten? No, I think we're good now. So we're at 3,000 feet. We'll maintain 3,000 until we get to Dover. Probably for most of the route, to be honest. So, Erding Kurtan is saying, is there any third-party thing to share cockpit with my friend, like in DCS F14? There is. I've forgotten the name of it. There is an add-on you can get, I think from FlightSim.2, that lets you do a dual control cockpit. You both have to have all the same, same aircraft, obviously, but it essentially synchronizes what each of you does in the cockpit. Dual controls, I think it's called. So you can have one of you pretending to be pilot, one pretending to be co-pilot. So what each of you does happens to the other one's cockpit and vice versa. So Jungly Sim saying, love your content and how you explain things so they make sense, like how a turboprop works makes the processes easier to understand. Well, it's just procedural stuff really, isn't it? Okay, so we're getting closer and closer to our route on the GPS. Should we ever play with some VORs along the way? Gives us something to do, doesn't it? So we're just flying over towards Dover on the south coast of the UK. The VOR is 114.95. So to do that, we press this knob in, which changes the focus over to the VOR radios. We want 114.95. So 114.95, switch that over to become the active frequency, change the CDI mode to VOR, and then we can change the course, sorry. And when the course deviation indicator, which is the line in the middle, lines up with the course, then that's the direction to the VOR. So obviously we are flying directly towards it. Yeah, but the wind is pushing us, so we're off to the right of it. Yeah, and now we're back on it again. So you can see the aeroplane is weaving around, even though it's in heading mode on the autopilot. The wind is gusting and pushing us either side of the line, which is quite interesting, really. We should see some ships today and we got chimneys. I've got the We Love VFR add-on installed, so we are seeing smoking chimneys. We will see radio masts and various other bits and pieces along the way. I've also got the shipping add-on installed, so we will see ships out in the English Channel. So just looking at the comments, is Navigraph better than Little Navmap? It's just different. Little Navmap can do more actually than Navigraph can do, but Navigraph is good. Yeah, interesting. So I've lost my Navigraph charts. Interesting. I didn't think I'd uninstalled it. D. Program files. Where on earth have I put that? Games. Navigraph charts. Oh, it's gone. Oh, I went to install the update and just haven't finished it yet. So I could do that while we're flying, actually, couldn't I? So if I go and get Navigraph charts, if I go to just Navigraph on the internet and sign in as me. Downloads, charts, Windows, download. Let's install it while we're flying and see how much it breaks everything. It should be fine. Because the Symlink part of it is already there. So I need to unload that, do a new flight, and we'll put the text route in and see if it survives it. So if we come into here, go flight plan, copy the route description to the keyboard, paste it in here, get rid of the bit we don't need of it, and do that. Has it figured it out? Yeah, but it didn't center on it, did it? So there's the Navigraph version of what we're doing, and you can see there's that first leg. So we're just flying across the coast here. Where Little Nav Map is better in many respects is it can show where the AI ships, planes, things are. It can also show, yeah, if I turn on the aircraft, you'll see any AI aircraft. I've got them turned off at the moment, obviously. Also, you can show Little Nav Map. Sorry, you can show transmitter aircraft. So that's an actual real person, that red airplane over there. So you can see there's some boats around that have been injected. And there's some more out there in the bay, you can see. There's a coaster, another one out there. Yeah, interesting. So let's increase the range on this. So this is saying we've got 31 miles to go until we get to, about 11 minutes till we get to Dover. Let's pull the mixture back. We're not in a hurry, and we're right on the limit of going yellow on the airspeed anyway, so we're going to pull the propeller speed back as well. Just edge off the speed, get the airplane trimmed out for efficient running. I wonder how much we can get away with pulling the mixture back at 3,000 feet. Quite a lot by the look of it. You can actually hear the whistle of the turbo on this one. What is the boat add-on? I've got to remember the name of it now. If I look in my downloads folder, I can soon tell you, because the folder will still be there. It's called AI Boats Ships something or other. If I look inside the zip file, oh, it's going to unzip it, isn't it, to do that. If you search for GAIST, it's a whole suite. GAIST Ultra version 3. And it actually puts moving boats with wakes into the water all over the world. So if we look in Little Nav Map, you can see if you click on one of them, it's actually, you know, got details about the boat, but it's got like 400 or 500 different boat models, so it broadly matches them to real boats. It's quite cool. Chris Patton says he's treating himself to the Black Square Bonanza. It's very good. I think one of the best things about it, quite apart from apparently all the failure modelling and everything, is really good. But I just like that everything just works. So the altitude pre-selector, for example. So we're at 3,000 feet at the moment, yeah? So if we wanted to go to 2,000 feet, we can just do it. So we'll come down at 500 feet a minute, and it's doing it, look. So there goes the vertical speed, and there goes the altitude. The other thing you notice is the radios, when you watch it sway, it's just really cool. Anyway, we're still flying directly towards the VOR, so the distance measuring equipment should be telling us what's going on. It's a really good point, actually. Where? Oh, there it is down here. So if we turn this over to N1, we've got 21 miles to go, 160 knots, 169 knots. So we're actually going, we're ripping along, really. This aeroplane is so fast. So I'm going to come back off the throttle a bit. No need for that sort of speed. So we're just edging our way back down to 2,000 feet above sea level. You can see Dover is coming on the GPS. So yeah, if you do get the Black Square Bonanza, it's similar to the other Black Square aircraft in that you're not going to get working doors and stuff like that, but you are going to get an entire suite of avionics and systems that work properly, and where the voltages used by things are correct and the amperages used by things, and you know, you can switch things on and off, and you can see the effect that has on other things. You can have failures, and it's just very good. If you want to model failures, they're hidden inside the weather radar. So you can see at the moment I haven't damaged the aeroplane at all, but if you look in here, you can then go and set what's going to fail or not. Anyway, and the weather radar works, by the way. Obviously there's nothing for it to see at the moment. This is the nicest weather we've had all day in the UK. It was pretty atrocious earlier. So hopefully we'll see some ships as we cross over the channel. So as we take this back out to 3,000 feet, we've got a little bit of turbulence, haven't we, when we're low? Although I guess we could do some sightseeing. Especially as I've installed We Love VFR, we're going to see things that wouldn't normally be there, like radio masts. Yeah, so if I go inside to look at that as we go past, yeah, that wouldn't have normally been there. We Love VFR has done that. So you get all of the, and it's all the real ones. Yeah, so that what they've done is looked at, they've got databases of the various things across the world and put all the real bits of hardware in the right places. You've also got much improved cranes where construction sites are. You've also got chimneys in industrial areas. It's very, very cool. Right, should we turn the sim volume down a bit? So you don't hear that so much, and turn the music volume back up a bit. How's that doing on the volume levels? Yeah, that's alright, isn't it? It'll do. Okay, so let's have a look at our route. Should we do this via Navigraph for a change instead? So when we leave Dover, the only problem with Navigraph is the scale of the screen is very low. Now I'm not sure if I can easily change that. Oh, there is interface scale, so I can make it bigger for you. Because otherwise you'd have a job seeing it, like the numbers and stuff. Oh, that's good to know. So we are just coming up to Dover. So we're going to leave Dover on a course of 117 degrees, which will fly us over Calais towards the VOR at Lille. So we can see Dover is coming. I don't know why I've got the ADF switched on. I'm not going to use it. It's very rare you find ADF stations anymore. So shall we just adjust this course to fly directly over the top of the VOR? Okay, so as we said, once we come over the top of the VOR, we want to be going 117 degrees. So we could actually, and we're not far away from that already. It's just a few degrees left, really. About 5 degrees to the left. Now, are we going to see any boats? If we have a look on little nav map, yeah, we should see quite a few boats around, particularly once we get over the channel. So I apologise for my pronunciation of your name. Saba Temesvari is asking what is the PC spec. It's a i7 3.6 gigahertz. The graphics card is an Nvidia 3080 RTX. It's got 16 gig of RAM, but more importantly perhaps I've got fibre to the house internet, so I've got extremely fast internet, and I'm running the game on ultra. I clip the frame rate at 30 frames per second. I see no reason to run it any faster than that, because all you do is cook the computer, you know, for a negligible difference in what you can see. So I always limit it to 30 frames a second VSync. You know, it's only a 60 Hz monitor, so there's no point doing anything crazy. I don't understand the gamers who go after frame rate all the time. I really don't. As long as it's usable and fairly smooth, yeah, that's good enough. So we have a look. So once we get over to the other side, we could do a touch and go, I guess, at Calais. There's a little airport, Calais Dunkirk. We could do a touch and go there just as something to do. Okay, so we're just crossing over the VOR. So you should see, yeah, we're on a from indicator now. The little white arrow is flicked over on the HSI, and the needle's coming back in with us maintaining that same course. We wanted to be 117 degrees though, didn't we? Which would be, there's 115. It'll be about there. So you can see we're off to the right. So we'll steer left of the course and see if it sweeps back in. So we don't have any clever wind indication within the arrow, so it'd be quite nice to do this by hand and just see what we have to do to straighten up. I have a funny feeling we're going into the wind. Or with it, sorry. So we'll just keep correcting and see how we go on course mode. I mean, we could just hit nav mode down here and it will fly it for us. But it's kind of good fun to have something to do as well, isn't it? So flying 2,000 feet over the sea. Can we see any boats around yet? Oh, I should have looked as we broke. Yeah, as we came over the coast. Let's have a look from outside. It's really calm out there. It's the cliffs of Dover, which are specially modelled in the sim, the White Cliffs of Dover. You're further off down that way as well. You see there's a huge radio mast over there, which is one of the things that We Love VFR does. There's another boat over there. There's a tanker, there's another tanker over there. I don't think we're going to pass particularly close to any of them, which is a shame. Okay. Yeah, so we could go and land at, or do a touch and go at Calais when we get there. So we've got 70 miles to go to Lille, which is way down here. So we are broadly following the route of the Eurostar trains when they head to Amsterdam. So they leave London, go under the English Channel at Dover, come back up at Calais, then they head off to Lille, and the ones that head north then go following this route basically up, through Brussels, Antwerp, Rotterdam, Amsterdam. The only reason I know this is because we were on one last week, which is why I wasn't recording videos for a few days. There's another tanker out there, quite a big one. It's a container ship, isn't it? There's a coaster carrying something or other. Brad Wood says hi from Washington State. Hi, Brad. We're just admiring the freebie shipping add-on from FlightSim.2, although you can't download it from there anymore. I don't think. I had to get it from the internet. I think I had to go to FlightSim.com to get it, actually, because of the ensuing fallout at FlightSim.2 with them trying to change their terms and conditions. An awful lot of well-known add-ons decided not to make their stuff available through them anymore. Gal says, greetings from Transylvania, I really like your videos, just subscribed. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, we're about to fly over some sort of pleasure boat out here. Or is it a fishing boat? No, it looks like a cruiser. Could be Coast Guard, couldn't it? It's about to inspect some of these ships, maybe. So ahead of us on the coast is Calais. We have a look on the navigation chart. There is a small airfield at Calais. We could go and do a visual approach, do a left circuit or something, fly over, left circuit in and have a look at it. Where can we get the weather for it? Can we do that directly in here? So, open airports, weather, METAR, 180 degrees, 5 knots. So the wind is from the south, 5 knots at Calais airfield. If we zoom in on this, we can have a look at it, see what it looks like. So that would make sense to fly over, do a left circuit for a touch and go, and then carry on our way, I guess. Give ourselves something to do. So as we get a bit closer, we'll obviously see it, which would be nice. We've already gone past that boat. Ah, there it is. Yeah, that's not Coast Guard. Some sort of billionaire football magnate. Is that the stock AP? What does AP stand for in this conversation? This is the Analogue Bonanza from Black Square that came out last week. So I'm just taking it for a longer flight. I did a first look video at it. So we're flying along, giving it a try, a proper try. Having to keep half an eye on the gauges. So we're using the left tank at the moment. We haven't used much fuel at all, actually. Okay, so let's keep an eye out for this airfield. We're going to fly directly over the top of it, because it's where the VOR is. So if we look out of the right side as we pass over the port of Calais, we'll see some... It's a shame they don't put some of the boats in the harbours, isn't it? I guess they do some places around the world, but not everywhere. Obviously we're going to get the container ships and stuff out at sea. I guess there's not much to see at Calais, is there? There's a football stadium. So here's the airfield. So should we go take the autopilot off, down to 50% throttle, let's start losing some speed. Mixture back to 50%. Yeah, the propeller condition's fine. We've still got the... I'm just going to turn this sound down from the music for a while. It seems really odd seeing tip tanks on the Bonanza, but that's one of the options you now get with the Turbo Bonanza. Just drop the undercarriage. Oh, we have somebody flying with us. Just see, I'll just drop the flaps halfway. How are we doing for airspeed? Yeah, we're fine. There's a lot of turbulence. Whoa. The wind then just caught the aeroplane and wouldn't let me turn. I had to put quite a lot of stick pressure in to get it to roll. And it's sinking, I'm too slow. It's a huge runway here, isn't it? We've got so used to little GA airfields. It seems really odd when you see a great big runway like this. Okay, let's go full throttle or fairly high throttle. Come off the runway. We should have the landing lights on, shouldn't we? Or is that the landing light? Yeah, that's just what it looks like on this aircraft. Okay, carry on our way. So, turn back towards the direction. We've got about 50 miles to run to Lille. Nice church model down there. Okay. So we're just coming back onto the track. So let's get the autopilot back on. Go for heading mode. Let's go and set an altitude target. 500 feet a minute is fine, and leave it at that, and let the airplane fly itself for a while. This is real world weather. It's much better than I thought it was going to be. Earlier today it was horrendous. But I think I just timed it right. I checked windy.com and it would seem to be clearing over this area of France and up north towards the Netherlands this afternoon, so picked the right moment. I think I might climb a little bit higher though. Let's go for 3,000 feet, shall we? Just to get away from this turbulence from the ground. It's just kicking the airplane around. Okay, so we're still using the VORs, remember, so we are tracking at the moment 45 miles to the next waypoint using GPS. If we use VLOC, 44.9. So the Lille VOR, if we have a look at it, is 109 megahertz. So let's go and tune that in. We'll go to it instead of away from the Dover one, shall we? So 109. And switch that over. So we have now picked up, or we should have picked up. Are we too far away from it? What's the range on it? Does this tell us? No, it doesn't. See, now little nav map will do that. How interesting. Lelystad. Oh, that's the airport. We want information on. My computer's being a so-and-so. There we go. Show information for the Lille VOR. 40-mile range. Yeah, we're just outside of range of it. So we should see this light up soon. If we just hold the same course, hopefully distance measuring will start working very soon. This is interesting because this, although we're in VLOC mode, this is showing it, the distance measuring isn't. So whether this is using GPS to do it, I don't, even though we're in VLOC, is interesting. I think it may still be using GPS for the distance data. If we hold clear on, we'll go back out to the screen, won't we? There we go. The plane's weaving around a fair amount, isn't it? So someone's saying there's an update to Little Nav Map today. I've not actually looked today. Let's have a look. Check for updates. No, I've got the latest. So I think it was a couple of days ago. About Little Nav Map. I've got version 2.8.9. It's a very neat little pattern we did there, look. So we're off across the countryside to the Lille VOR. Yeah, just reading the live stream comments, just being able to get things like the VOR ranges in Little Nav Map is such a help sometimes, especially if you're messing around with radio navigation. It really does help enormously. I guess you could always pull the charts up, but then Navigraph, it has approach charts and stuff, it doesn't have sectionals, I don't think. So all it's going to give me here is departure and arrival. I don't think it's got sectional charts. This kind of is the sectional chart as far as they're concerned. So when we come into Lille, now there is a little airfield up north of the city, mark on Baruel. We could go and do a touch and go there, I guess. Obviously there's the big airfield here. Does this give us the runway lengths when we get close to it? Nope. I guess it does if you show the information for the airfield. Open airports, runways. Yeah, 5,000 feet and 9,000 feet. So that's the 5,000 foot runway, there's the 9,000. Wind was from the south, wasn't it, earlier? We get the META, yeah, from the south, 180 degrees, 5 knots. How's our little aeroplane doing? We better keep an eye on the tanks and switch them over, actually. Yeah, we're down to half a tank on the left tank. We're going to switch to the right tank now. Use some fuel in the right tank. Let it even up. So Kokoti Antigua, is that how you pronounce your name? Was flying Stornoway to Glasgow today in the D18 and the weather was superb. Yeah, it was. I went messing around this morning and yeah, the weather was, I think spectacular is the word you might use, or ridiculously dangerous might be another term. Yeah, the D18 is great fun. It's difficult to get a three-pointer, isn't it, without bouncing? You have to really know it and know the speeds and the winds that you're dealing with. Oh, you had clear skies. Did you turn the weather off? Most of the UK has been covered in stormy clouds all day. Should we switch this over to GPS? Just to see. So we could just press nav now. And then stop worrying. And it will skip sideways. There we go. It's going to rejoin the route. It's not far off of it, to be honest. So it'll probably level up in a few moments. It's just getting about a 30-degree intercept course. And then it will turn left again. Because it's just coming in, look, on the CDI. So 26 miles to run. If we go to R now, I presume that just uses the GPS then. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? How that works. So how far do we have to go? 25 miles to run until we get to Lille. Foster says afternoon. Afternoon, Foster. So we're just whistling across the French countryside towards Lille. I guess this is the track underneath us of the railway. So if we were on the Eurostar, we would be on this train line. You can see it going way off into the distance in a straight line. So basically, as soon as the Eurostar surfaces, it accelerates and it hits 200 miles an hour along this part of the route. Because the although it looks, you can actually see it down here, it looks quite raised up in places, and that's because it is. And it's tree lined, obviously, to protect the sound, or to protect, you know, nearby farms and houses from the sound. But the actual train track is raised quite a long way off of ground level. I'm not sure what the maximum speed of Eurostar is. It's pretty quick though. Yeah, just looking at Dave's comment, it would be cool, wouldn't it, to see trains moving. I think there are a couple of add-ons around that do animated trains, but there's no kind of generic solution for it. I know X-Plane used to do it, but X-Plane did a lot of things badly as well, so you can't have it all, can you? But you could ask for it all, you won't get it though. Yes, DCS does do trains. Okay, so what's this town we're just passing that's got the big building in the middle of it? Should we have a look on the map? Ballieu. La Chapelle is just coming up on the left. So the bigger town just over here is La Chapelle. And then we've got Lille, which is huge, massive city. All sorts of VFR routes that are established around the area. So we really should be going arrival and departure from this beacon here. Does that correspond? There's nothing on little nav map about that, is there? Oh, is it VP 788 maybe? Is that what that is? Nope, it's just a coordinate. 443 degrees. Sorry, not minimum, 440, that's the altitude for that. So this is really pain, isn't it? They don't give you the bearings or distances for these markers, they just give you coordinates. Which is a real pain. So we're going to fly straight in towards... Although we did say maybe we skirt along the northwestern edge of Lille and go and do a touch and go. May as well, hadn't we? We're here now. So we can see it's, if we click on this, LFQO, Lima, Foxtrot, Quebec, Oscar. So if we zoom in, can we see it? Yeah, there it is. So let's go to heading mode and spin ourselves about, what, 40 degrees left. We should see it before too long. I doubt it's a controlled airport, so even if we wanted to go for nearest airports on the radio, LFQO, there we go. Yeah, it's just tune traffic. It's not controlled, so we can't get an interaction with ATC. So Scott Hudson is saying maximum speed recorded on a Eurostar was 208. Yeah, I think we did at least just over 200 this route this time when we came out. They were absolutely shifting. It doesn't seem like it when you're on the train though, because you're quite high up in the carriage. It amuses me reading all these tips everybody's writing about taking off or landing in particular aeroplanes. You just look out the window, don't you, and use the stick and rudder and control it. All this stuff about trimming. I once heard an airline pilot talking to a student pilot, and his words stuck with me. He said, never fly a plane on trim. You trim it once you're in the air to get the plane so you can let go of the controls, basically. But his advice to this student pilot was, you fly the plane with the controls in your hands. And if you're having to hold the control slightly off, well, so be it. Because by the time you've messed around, time is ticking the whole time you're doing it. Okay, let's have a look outside. We do this from outside. So we're just going across the edge of Lille. So this whole sprawling city is Lille. It appears to have photogrammetry. flight sim's awesome, isn't it? Right, how far do we have to go to our little airfield? It's just off to our left at the moment then. Is this it down here? Or is that a road junction? That's a road junction. Well, I'm looking for the airfield and I'm not seeing it. It should be right here. Oh, there it is. It's grass runways. Oh, that's going to be fun then. Okay, so wind is from the south, so we are the correct side of the airfield for an approach. We're very high at the moment though. So what we could do is just side slip it all the way in. So we're going to throw the gear down now. We're slow enough to do that. And we're going to side slip enormously. Throw the flaps out as well. And we're going to descend like an elevator. Well, that's the plan anyway. We're down underneath 100 knots now. So we are side slipping. Full left rudder. Just keeping an eye on that airspeed so we don't descend too much. We might have to circle. It's only a touch and go, remember. Nah, we're going to be fine. Right, remove the side slip. Look at the bold patch in the grass where aeroplanes typically put their wheels down. It's quite funny, isn't it, when you see that? We're going to make a bigger divot than they have. There we go. To avoid the tall tree, just slightly. Get some speed back up. Okay, let's go back down south over the city towards our route and rejoin. So that was Lille. Now we're on our way to Antwerp, I seem to remember. Let's have a look at the map. Yeah. Oh no, Brussels first. Brussels, then Antwerp. Now there's some piece of scenery here. Be worth having a look at on the way through Lille before we leave. Just trimming the airplane out. It won't look as bad if I zoom back out. So let's put this back on autopilot so I get the heading bug in pretty much the right place. Engage autopilot, go for heading mode. Where's altitude hold? There it is. So what is this then? Obviously some tower that's been built properly in Lille. Is it just a communications tower? Okay, let's go to 2,500 feet, shall we? At 500 feet a minute. So we're shifting as well. So fuel is in good condition. How are we doing on the fuel burn so far? So we're still above half on the right tank, so we're doing well. So off we go to Brussels next, 60 miles across the countryside. So we're just waiting to reacquire the next leg on the GPS route. We could do it via VOR. So let's see. So Brussels VOR has got a range of 100 miles, so we should be able to pick it up straight away. 114.60. So if we go, we're on heading mode at the moment, so we've got no problem turning this over to VLOC. Brussels 11460. Switch that over. And there it goes. So the direction, what direction do we want to go? 67 degrees if we're going to follow our route. So we'll move this to 67-ish way. About there. So we can start turning for that now. And then we'll correct for the wind once we see it. Obviously we're off to the right of it, so we'll fly an angle to it for a few minutes, or for a few moments even. Until we get onto the track. Remember we had wind from the south earlier. So we're actually getting further away from that track, look. It's wandering. Part of that is, I know in this version of the Bonanza, they have modelled the degradation of the radio signal over distance. So we might not be getting a steady signal, which might account for this wavering around so much. Because we're kind of, 60 miles away. It'd be interesting if that is the case. Or 50 miles away now. Could I activate subtitles? I think on a live stream it's up to you to do that, isn't it? It just says unavailable at the moment in YouTube. I'm not sure why. It's not something that I'm specifically doing to not allow subtitles. Dave Dugdale. I am William Kelly. I CTD Manchester, and I looked at YouTube and saw John flying, so I thought I'd join. I've not actually had a look around in the back of this yet. Can we get it in? Have they made it clickable? No, they haven't. Oh, that's a shame. Oh, I can't actually get past that point in the cockpit. Well, not just by moving the pilot around anyway. had such clear skies so far. I can't quite believe it. It was horrendous this morning. So how are we doing? 44 miles to run. I might go and make myself a coffee while we're en route. So Joel has said the pilot's window opens. Yes, it does. It's called a storm window. And you can let some fresh air in to mess your hair up. Yeah, everything about the avionics on this thing works. It's really cool because of it. And a lot of the failure procedures are built in as well. So should we put this on nav mode and let it track the route itself? So it's going to follow nav 1 now, or it's going to attempt to, so it may weave around a fair amount. Ooh, look at this, going really viciously against it, isn't it? That's that wavering signal. So maybe that's why that's not a good idea to do that. I'm going to go back to heading mode. So it's going to be chasing a radio signal that is not consistent. That's where GPS suddenly wins, I guess. So Brussels, then Antwerp, and then on to Rotterdam, and then on to Amsterdam. Let's get a view of this. Whoa, some of these procedural tracks are interesting around Brussels. Obviously we're not stopping at Brussels Airport, it's too big for us. Should we have a look where we might stop once we get there? Or where we might do a touch and go? Maybe at Lint. How long's the runway there? Is it really tight? No, it's a 3,000 foot grass runway. That would be fine. Yeah, obviously the international airport isn't really for a GA plane. I know, don't know if you've noticed that Navigraph is a lot smoother than Little Nav Map. The way it renders. Someone's asking, is the Bonanza better than the Milvis C310R? Is it realistic? The systems modelling is probably the best of the lot so far, but it is not as complete as the Blackbird Simulations 310R. The 310 is probably the most complete aircraft in the game for having lots to do. You know, like cleaning it and the switch position memory, and you know, the different modes you can fly in, like Flight Club mode, where various things have been broken by other pilots. And yeah, so the 310 is great for that. So is the 414 actually, in terms of realism. But I think the 310 gives you the most for your money. 414 isn't far behind. It's perhaps more realistic. In terms of system modelling, this is probably the best of the lot so far, but it's not as complete. So you can't do things like, you know, opening and shutting the doors or various other things. But, you know, we're talking about marginal differences between them now. They are all very, very good. Yeah, it's like... I'm going to apologise for pronouncing your name badly, but Kokoti is saying the Windows animation isn't visible. I think as soon as you start looking at animations and paint jobs and things like that, nobody's going to beat Coronado at that. That's what they've decided to go after. They've gone for the middle of the market. Okay, they're not as realistic, but they look stunning. And, you know, most of the stuff is clickable within them. But... you know, they're simple to fly, the avionics aren't all modelled properly, and so on and so forth. But if you... It's horses for courses, isn't it? So the development teams like Black Square and Milvis, they go after the systems and avionics modelling more than Coronado, for example. It's funny because I hear people, criticising Coronado for doing simplified aircraft, but the people that are really interested in super accurate, well-modelled aircraft, they are in a very small niche. So if a developer goes after just that group, so you could argue this happened with the MD-82, which is probably the best airliner in Flight Simulator, but not many people bought it because A, it's quite an uphill struggle to learn it properly, and B, it's expensive. So, you choose the market you're going to go after, and Coronado have probably made more money than all the others put together because they aimed for the middle of the market, not for the far end. It's a bit like the PMDG aircraft. They're kind of a little bit behind the most realistic airliners, but they're good enough. And if you are super interested in how a Boeing works or whatever, they are very, very good. It's a bit like another argument would be for Aerosoft with the CRJ, for example. When you buy an Aerosoft aeroplane, they're kind of the Coronado of the civil aviation world. That you're going to get lots of switches and things, but not all of them are going to do very much. But at least you get the procedural bit about kind of, doing things in the right order, for example, although you don't have to actually do things in the right order. So it's an interesting one. I guess I was relatively fortunate when I got into study level planes years ago. The first really good one I saw was the Zibo mod 737 in X-Plane, which learning that taught me to fly any of the 737s that came along later, because I had learnt essentially a simulation of the real thing, a study level one. And it was interesting because in learning that I had to refer to, or I had help actually from a couple of 737 pilots, one of which in particular I bumped into on LinkedIn, and he gave me such good feedback on the real world procedure, but not just what to do, it was why. And that's kind of been reflected in the videos I've done along the way. I'm always more interested in showing people why, or explaining why, rather than just press this, press that, press the other. I think half of it is because it makes more sense to me. If I know what something is doing, I can kind of connect that in my head to what other things are doing. So you can see we're off slightly. Let's go a few degrees to the left. So Dave Dugdale has bought the E175, as it's a bit of an introduction to airliners. A bit buggy, yeah, that's what everybody's been saying. I wonder if the dev team are going to actually finish it properly, or if they will just give up on it, because it's a hell of a mountain to climb from what I've heard from the things that are wrong with it. Okay, we're getting there. So we're going to fly right over the top of Brussels. You can see there's some buildings modelled in Brussels. It's probably got some custom 3D assets in the city. Yeah, you can see there's one there that sticks out like a sore thumb at the moment. There's going to be photogrammetry around it. Yeah, you can see it's just starting to spawn in. And the We Love VFR stuff is spawning in, like chimneys and windmills, radio masts. It's slowly starting to appear. It looks odd because I'm zooming in. Normally you wouldn't notice it. If we just look at the nearby scenery, it will all look lovely. So, did we decide there was somewhere to go and land here to do a touch and go? There was a grass airstrip, wasn't there? maybe... Oh, it's difficult, isn't it? Maybe we fly over Brussels to have a look and we go into Lint. Or maybe we carry on up to Antwerp. That's incredible that that is being so slow to draw. Maybe it's because of the boats being drawn in. If I remove them, it's still being slow. This spoils you, doesn't it, having this rendering so quickly? So this would be quite nice actually if we come past these chimneys for you to see what We Love VFR gives you. So here's one of the things it gives you. Like, there's a radio mast here, which is obviously if we were down at 1,000 feet, that would be a problem. Getting closer. This is Brussels. So yeah, Erling Kurtan is saying about the BAE 146. It's a fantastically modelled plane, isn't it? It's great fun. Once you get used to it as well, because it's that bit more manual, a lot of the skills you might learn in a GA plane flying VOR radials and stuff, it all comes into play in the BAE 146 because that's the era it comes from, you know, before GPS. Although it's got a GPS system shoehorned into it, it's not really designed for it. And that kind of shows up in the way the master control panel works, and it's all tailored for switching between VORs. So, should we go manual? Throttle back to 50%. So what We Love VFR has done is put in, yeah, chimneys and height obstructions basically. And obviously steaming cooling towers, which you otherwise wouldn't be there. So this is Brussels. We'll go and fly into the centre and have a look, shall we? If I sit up, then we can see over the nose a bit more easily. Okay, so we're going to carry on the route across the city and then up to Antwerp. How are we doing for fuel? So about 50% both tanks now. So we're looking good. So there's the international airport, which we're going to stay the hell away from. So what we'll probably do is set a heading of maybe 30 degrees and eventually get onto the correct track. So autopilot on. We're on altitude hold at the moment, so we'll go and change our target altitude to 2,000 feet. And we'll get there at 500 feet a minute, which is just doing. And this will intercept that route. We're using VOR navigation at the moment, but I guess we could tune into Antwerp VOR coming in on these. Should we go direct to it instead of what we're doing? So Antwerp VOR is 113.5. So going in here, 113.50. Switch that to active. And interestingly, we're not picking it up. This is on VLOC. We want to be coming in on the 350 degree track. He's just picked it up. It just took a while. So again, this may be part of the new modelling, that this is going to be far more accurate. Let's just have a quick look in Little Nav Map, because it will tell us. Show information for Antwerp. Yeah, it's only 40 miles. Although we're 20 miles away. So maybe there's a lot of interruption around here with the frequencies. Who knows? So we'll fly the intercept track until we get the CDI in the middle. We'll stay at 2,000 feet. It's interesting actually, what's the radar altitude saying? So yeah, it's not the ground level isn't that high then. So it's looking like about 1,800 feet above the ground. Obviously this is above sea level. If we recalibrate, we get about another 10 feet back. Ooh, it's a bit toasty in the cockpit now. Should we let off the cabin heating a little bit? It's just dropping down there. So we're just coming past Michelin. So we look on this map. It's Michelin. We're just coming up to the track that we're going to be following. So you can see the needle is coming in now. So we will straighten up onto the route we wanted to be going. We'll be going almost into the wind now. So it should be pretty straightforward. So how far to Antwerp? 12 miles, not very far at all. And while it's doing this 12-mile leg, I'm going to put this onto navigation mode, so it will follow the radial itself, hopefully. Let's see what it's doing. Yeah, it's doing it. It's just weaving a little bit. So we'll let it fly the radial itself, and I'm going to go make a quick coffee, so I'll be back in a few moments. I'll leave it on the outside view so you get to watch the scenery whizzing past. Back in a minute. Hooray, I'm back. Just reading the live stream notes. Okay, so we're about to fly over the top of an airfield here. Should we have a look and find out which airfield that is? It's Antwerp airfield, funnily enough. So we're going to come off the autopilot. And if the wind is coming from the north, we really need to come in this end, don't we? So should we loop around in a circle and then join the left pattern? Antwerp. There's a famous port. See the river coming all the way down past it. Interesting shaped buildings down there. Okay, let's join the pattern. Do we get, I wonder, do we get ATC at Antwerp? It's Doan, isn't it? Let's just double check that before I go and ask the wrong airport. Yeah, Deurne. Or Deurne. Touch. Oh, Tune Tower. Request touch and go.
Antwerp Tower Beechcraft Golf Juliet Bravo Echo Kilo is 2 miles southeast, 2,200 feet, with whiskey for touch and go.
Beechcraft Golf Juliet Bravo Echo Kilo Antwerp Tower.
Straight in runway 29.
29er decimal 881278 at 6. Make straight in runway 29er. Beechcraft Bravo Echo Kilo 1278 at 6. Clear touch and go left traffic runway 29er.
Clear touch and go runway 29er Beechcraft Bravo Echo Kilo.
Okay, let's get going again. That northern, the wind is coming in from the left side of the screen. They're gently pushing us away from the centre line. At which point will this... There we go. So cancel landing and it will let us go.
Beechcraft Bravo Echo Kilo. Cancel landing intention.
Beechcraft Bravo Echo Kilo, your cancellation is received.
Ah, I can close that now. Okay. It's a bit of a fun interlude, wasn't it? So I'm just looking sideways. Heat my shorts is saying, what controller do I use? I've got the Airbus Thrustmaster kit, so I've got the Thrustmaster stick and quadrant, and I just modify the profile to suit each aeroplane. So it flaps up. How are we doing? We're just coming back towards the track, and we're going to fly up from Antwerp to Rotterdam. Let's have a look at the fuel. Do we need to switch tanks again yet? They're both showing about half a tank. We're on the right tank at the moment though, so just keep an eye on it. We should be good all the way to Amsterdam. So let's... just come back over the track. What do we have on the height? 2,000 feet. We're at 2,000 feet at the moment. That's absolutely fine. So we've got altitude to hold on. We'll go for nav mode We're tuned into 11350, which is the Antwerp via. Oh, what's that doing? Yeah, it's got that strangeness again with the radio signal, look. I'm not going to worry too much about it. 358 degrees, so we want to be more north coming out of here. Do we get another VOR at... What's the range on the Rotterdam VOR then? $100 miles. And it's 50 miles away, so that should be good. 110.40. So 110.40. Switch over to it. Let's see if this picks it up. So we're showing 41 miles to go. And this is in flight director mode, but it's not doing nav mode at the moment, which is just doing wing leveling then. So I'll switch it back on. That's because we changed frequencies. It's having a real job, isn't it, with following it. It's in VLOC mode. I think this is what they were on about. They've started simulating radio interference. So it's just gone to the left on the CDI. Oh no, it's drifting back. Yeah, this is radio interference they're simulating. This is really cool. So it's wavering. Very, very cool. I like that. It's shifting, look, the whole time. It's not getting a constant signal. So what we'll do is just go heading mode and keep an eye on it, rather than fly to the VORs. Why are we at 2,200? Right. Right, where are we going next? So we are just leaving Antwerp and we're heading north to Rotterdam. So I wonder if we turn on the display of boats. There's not too many boats around, but we should, if we look over our shoulder over here. Oh, it's quite a long way away. I'm going to say we might see some boats over there. Yeah, it's quite a long way. Oh well. Is it going to get dark on us? I think it might be. The sun's going to... Nah, we'll get to Amsterdam before the sun goes down. What are we doing? Let's see if we can eke the fuel out a bit more. Just gone below half a tank on the right wing. We've still got half a tank on the left wing. And we're happily trundling along at about 160 knots. So Dave Dugdale says he's not too far behind in the D18, so have a look behind. Oh yep, I can see the nav lights in the distance. Or I could before I zoomed in too far. Yeah, there you are, on the horizon. So I'll slow down a bit. Just going back to 50% throttle. No hurry. So the speed's dropping off down to about 140 knots by the look of it. I expect it will settle at about maybe 120. Let's have a look at the map. So we're just flying past Leystad. There's a fix here called Leystad, and Roosendaal we're just flying over, and the Bergen op Zoom. So Roosendaal is directly underneath the airplane right now. So let's have a look at it. The whistle from the turbo is really distinct, isn't it? Here comes the D18, you can see the nav lights coming. Red is his left wing, green is his right wing. He's coming towards us. So this seems to have settled at about 130 knots-ish. So Rotterdam is about 25 miles out in front of us, 30 miles out in front of us. Are there any smaller airfields at Rotterdam that we could do a touch and go at? So obviously there's the VFR training circuit area. EHRD. It's not that big an airfield, is it? So if we pull up information on the airport itself and the runways, so 7,000 foot runways, is quite big, isn't it? Should we get instruction now? We're quite a long way out, but let's see if it comes up on the ATC list. Nearest airport list, Rotterdam. Tune Rotterdam Tower. Request touch and go.
Rotterdam Tower Beechcraft Golf, Juliet Bravo Echo Kilo is 21 miles south, 2,000 feet, with Alpha touch and go.
Beechcraft Golf, Juliet Bravo Echo Kilo, Rotterdam Tower. Altimeter 29.85.248 at 5. Fly left traffic runway 24.
Acknowledge. So left traffic 24. What they mean by that is turning left. So they want us to come up this side of the airfield to come in for runway 24. Yeah? So we need to approach from this side and fly parallel to the runways, and then they will call our landing clearance when we are parallel with the entrance to runway 24. So we need to fly 60 degrees past the airfield from this side. Yeah? So what we'll do is we'll crab slightly across to make that happen. So we're in heading mode. So we're going to go and fly 330 for a while to bring ourselves over here, and then we'll fly 60 and then we'll get clearance. If nobody's done this before, this will be educational for them about just what that meant. Fly left traffic. It means traffic circuit into the airfield, turning left at each turn until you end up pointing at runway 24. So you position yourself on the downwind leg, flying the reciprocal, so the opposite direction. So you're coming this way, anticipating a left turn into the runway. So if we fly 60 degrees along here, it's interesting, look, that bears no relation to the real patterns. In the real thing, we would anticipate flying along here and getting clearance. So probably, you know, the VFR Foxtrot route in. And we would anticipate being at 1500 feet along past Foxtrot. So we'll do that part of it at least. So we'll go 1500 and come down at 500 feet a minute to get to 1500 feet. So you can see we're heading this way at the moment, but then we will turn 60 degrees and they will give us clearance when we are perpendicular with the entrance, or sorry, a beam is the term usually used in aviation, when we are abeam runway 24's apron. Someone's asking if this is a Navigraph subscription. Yes, this is Navigraph. So I've also got Little Navmap, which is free, and I think it's just as good, but it's a little bit more clunky in terms of its drawing, but it still works. Oh, there's some boats being put in by the scenery. So should we see if we can see them? Oh, they're too far away again. That's a shame. So you can see now why these, at 1500 feet, these chimneys are suddenly a problem. Imagine if you're in the dark. They will have lights on top. So that's why you need to be aware of charts for approaches for places like this, because there could be stuff in your way. This is the We Love VFR scenery, by the way, if you joined late, that's given me all the towers that are the correct heights, by the way. So you can see we're making our way across, and then we will turn 60 degrees. Oh dear. So let's have a look. You can see the runway is there. If we were to program this into the GPS, we could use OBS mode and change the course, which would, you know, make everything make sense for us. In fact, well, we could put it into the route, couldn't we, along this way? So let's go and insert Rotterdam Airfield EHRD. We've got time to do it. So flight plan. And on top of... Wait, didn't want to do that. On top of RTM, I'm going to put EHRD. Except it didn't accept any of those letters. There we go. EHRD Rotterdam, enter. And then if we do flight plan now, you can see it's going straight for here. But what we can do that's quite cool is put this on the runway direction on the course. We're on heading mode, so it won't affect it. So we're going to go for 240, which was the runway direction. And then we're going to switch this to OBS mode. And look what it's done. That's the runway direction, so we can think in terms of flying 60 degrees. So if you look at the opposite of 240, it's 60. Yeah, so we just need to fly 60 degrees and then we turn in. Obviously when we get parallel with the runway, we'll get clearance for landing. So should we have a look at this from outside? The port of Rotterdam. If we had the appropriate scenery to do it, like I think Orbex do one that covers major ports like this, we would have loads of container ships and stuff in here. You know, things going up and down the canal out to sea. But the nice thing is in these industrial areas with We Love VFR, you get all the chimneys in the right places, which makes it quite terrifying. It's like there's a mast over there, look. And there's another one there, a crane, that wouldn't have been there otherwise. Okay, how are we doing on the approach route? So can we see the airport yet? It should be not far in front of us. Is that it over there? Yeah, so we're going to turn 60 degrees now. If we have a quick look at that on the map for you so you get a sense of where we are. Yeah, we're just in about the right place. So 60 degrees. Whoa. So there's the runways. And when we get parallel with the end of the runway, there's somebody coming in just over there actually. See their nav lights. So we're going to speed back up a little bit. And we should get clearance. Yeah, so we're going up this side. We have turned a little bit early, but it shouldn't matter. Just means we get a longer base leg, basically. Looks like we're about 10 degrees off to the right as well. So let's just correct that while we're at it. Right, so we should get clearance any moment, as soon as we get parallel with the end of the runway. There we go. Clear, touch and go. And then we acknowledge.
Cleared for touch and go runway 24 Beechcraft Bravo Echo Kilo.
So we come off the speed. We're going to extend out a little way to give ourselves some approach room, but then we are going to make our left turn. So if you look at the compass, this is why these markers are so handy. So we can turn to 320 degrees, which we're now doing. Which will fly the base leg for us. We're going to come off the autopilot actually. Let's just do this by hand now. Okay, we'll start descending. There's the airfield. So we can get the gear down now. we gave ourselves way too much room to do this. Biggest circuit ever. I've been flying airliners too much recently. Centre the view up. Oh, that bus centre. Okay. There's quite a lot of wind shear across the airfield here. It's a huge runway. The only problem with viewing from outside is you can't get a sense. You know, look at the wind pushing me. I told you there was a lot of wind shear. We can now cancel.
Rotterdam Tower Beechcraft Bravo Echo Kilo. Cancel landing intention.
Beechcraft Bravo Echo Kilo, your cancellation is received.
Okay, so we're going to carry on with our route. So we'll double back to the left, and then we're looking for 22 degrees, 24 miles. So we'll turn this back off of OBS mode. And we want to move the heading bug to 22 degrees. Move the course marker as well while we're at it. Just coming back up to 2,000 feet. Okay. Look at that wavering around on the radio. It's all over the place. Although we have just flown straight over the VOR, which would explain it. Okay, so do we have another beacon to fly into at Amsterdam? Yes, we do. The Schiphol VOR at 108.4. So 108.40. Switch that over to be the active frequency. You can see we're flying almost straight towards it, which is what we'd expect, to be honest. Showing 21 miles to go to get there. So Amsterdam, here we come. Do you know what? I'm going to turn the landing light off, even though civil aviation traffic leaves them on below 10,000. It's just starting to annoy me with the bright light on the nose. You can see that wind is pitching the aeroplane around. The autopilot's really fighting it. Oh, we're getting there. So, Amsterdam would be the destination of the Eurostar train, and you can see there's the track zooming off across the countryside along the way. Yeah, you can just see it there. I guess it goes under the ground there into a tunnel. And then, yeah, it comes back out again here, look. And then continues on into the centre of Amsterdam. Or at least that track does. Does it go underneath the airport then? Yeah, it does, look. Comes back out again here. And then, I guess, into the main station. Or it goes under the river. Or is that a bridge? Maybe, I can't remember. There's the main terminal in the centre of the city. So I'm just wondering how they get there. So if there's there's a turn there, look, so it loops around. Okay, so we're nearly there. Coming in. Obviously we're not keeping an eye on instruments here, so we're well off to the left now. So what course did we want? 22 degrees. Obviously the wind is... If we turn north for a few moments, just to get back on the track. You can see it there on the map. So we're going for the Schiphol VOR. But the actual city of Amsterdam is a couple of miles over to the northeast of that. It's interesting, isn't it? Looking at this chart where it's integrated in, the only VOR way into Schiphol would be to come in or depart on this track, going through the Alpha and Bravo markers and then entering the circuit for only this runway. Otherwise, it's airliners with standard approach routes for the other runways. So basically they're keeping everybody well out of the way of where the airliners would be. So you would come in from this point at low altitude. Obviously we're not going to land and we're not going to be obeying rules. We're going to fly straight towards Amsterdam in reality and go and have a look at the city. So from where we are, we probably want to go about 10 degrees to the right. Let's have a look at this on this nav map. Yeah, we're probably heading about the right direction to hit the centre of the city. That's a lot of runways and data to show, isn't it? Should we turn some of it off? Might make it a bit easier to draw. So there's the international runway. So if we turn another 5 degrees right, put this on the outside view as we approach. It's a shame there's not some windmills in the fields, because there really are. Not, I don't mean the giant winds, I mean the traditional old grain windmills, because they are dotted around across the fields in near Amsterdam. Yeah, just reading the live stream comments from Foster. Schiphol's enormous. It's quite spread out. Obviously it's not as big as somewhere like Heathrow or somewhere like that, but I mean Heathrow's like a city inside a city. It's ridiculous. But it's like, yeah, it's an international hub, I guess, so. We should find nav lights behind us somewhere. I've dug. Is it the same altitude as us? Sometimes you can't see them unless you zoom out a little bit. Yeah, there he is. At that series of buildings in a row along there. It's quite interesting patterns you see in photogrammetry. It's a 3D asset over there. I'm not sure what building that is. We head for the city centre anyway. That's Schiphol. So that's the small runway with the circuit for VFR traffic, which you come in from the perpendicular angle to it and then enter the circuit. Golf course. Perfectly good piece of parkland ruined by a golf course. So it looks like we're heading directly for the Rijksmuseum. Or thereabouts, although Sim's just frozen. It's having some problems with resources. It should unfreeze itself. Give it a chance. There we go. So, let's see how good my memory is. I think this is the rail terminal. this is the Rijksmuseum, which is like the National Gallery. The big church, that's the old defence tower. So if we go inside the aeroplane to see some of this stuff, you can see a bit more detail. For once I know about a place. Seeing as I only was there last week walking the streets and the canals. So this big park past here is the oh, it was kind of donated to the city. Vondel Park, I think it's called. And then you've got the Rijksmuseum here, which has got gardens and like an ice skating rink behind it that they fill in the winter. So the big church over here is just around the corner from where Anne Frank's house was in Amsterdam. Or I think it's that one anyway. Yeah, that looks to be the right place. So yeah, there's one of the old churches. This tower is quite interesting when you actually see it from the street level. And that one as well. There's several similar towers around the city. So that's the Royal Palace down there with the square in front of it. So that's where you'll see the royal family on the balcony on that lower level down there, and all the people in the streets for celebrations. There's like a huge church down here. Just trying to think what else. There's all sorts of stuff in the city. It's huge. Obviously the railway station is absolutely gigantic. You've got the River Amstel coming past, which is where the Amstel beer gets its name from. So this continues to be the Amstel as it comes up here. So there's the Opera House. So there you go, there's my 5-minute talk. Very, very quick tour. If you look down actually, you can see the canals are like a spider web pattern around the city. And the reason for that is as the city grew in kind of the 14, 15, 1600s, they grew it out by just building another layer of canal basically, and another row of houses. So it's quite amusing. If I fly over the old town part of it, you'll see all of the buildings. You can't quite see it, the photogrammetry isn't quite good enough. The buildings are all very narrow but quite long. It's because the rates were paid based on water frontage. So people built very narrow buildings that were very long to, you know, in order to pay less. It's quite amusing. And for the same reason, a lot of the buildings in Amsterdam, the stairways are very narrow in the rooms, you know, because they didn't want to give up on room space for a stairway. So all the stairways in the older buildings tend to be extremely narrow stairways. Right, we're not actually going to land in Amsterdam because, as you can see, there is no airfield really other than the international airfield. Also the international airport. So we're going to fly northeast. So which way are we going now? So I'm going to turn this way. And we're going to fly out to a regional airfield to land at. So we just level out. So let's get the heading bug over to us. So autopilot's on, we're on altitude hold and heading mode. So we want to be flying, there we go. We're going almost exactly the right direction to get to Lelystad. Echo Hotel Lima Echo, just across the water. It's about 20 miles away from where we are at the moment. So we'll see some boats on the way over the water, hopefully. In fact, that's quite amusing. There's a boat that's spawned in. Oh no, it's not. It's just a piece of scenery. I was hoping we would see boats, but I can't see them. Now, Little Nav Map tells us that there are some boats in the AI data from the simulator. Oh yeah, here they are. They're just coming. They just haven't rendered in yet. So we turn back. We can see Amsterdam disappearing behind us. So just reading the comments about the bikes in Amsterdam, there are more bicycles than residents in the city. And yes, they have to trawl thousands of bikes out of the canals. They have started installing railings alongside the canals to stop cars from going into the canals by accident. During the 1960s, it became a massive problem as more and more people moved into the city as residents, I guess. That more and more people were having accidents and ended up with a car in the canal, which is obviously a massive problem. So Jack Trendle's asking what graphics setting. I'm running in Ultra. I don't have any scenery add-ons for Amsterdam. That was just the stock photogrammetry of the city. I do have the Europe, I guess, the World Update installed, which is obviously was released for free by Microsoft and Asobo. So we're on our way to the final part of today's journey. One of the more interesting stories about those thin houses in Amsterdam was obviously the we went and did a tour, as many people do, of the Anne Frank house. I suppose the Otto Frank house, really. He was her dad, and it was his business, or the business he worked for owned the house that they hid in. The German occupying forces didn't realise that many of the houses in Amsterdam, because of that water frontage rates thing that was going on, didn't realise that many of the houses had annexes built on the back of the house. So even the business properties had annexes on the back, and the company that Otto Frank worked for had an annex on the back of the property that wasn't used. There was nobody living in it for years, so that's where his family hid. So from the back of the property, you can plainly see it. From the front, there's no sign that there is another property there hidden. That's a lot of windmills coming in the scenery, isn't it? How are we doing in terms of our track? We're going a little bit off, aren't we? So we need to turn left, probably 20 degrees. Wind is... what's the wind doing at Lelystad? 280 degrees, 8 knots. So we want runway 23. So we'll do left circuit when we get there. Just a left visual circuit and come in runway 23. Should be fine. Let's have a look and see how that looks on... Yeah, you can actually see the circuits drawn in. So as far as this chart looks on Navigraph, we should stay north of the airfield and turn in right. So we come in for this Mike waypoint over the road junction as a visual reference point, and then follow the road, turn off and come in for the, we turn over the lakes, so it's all visual reference points. Look, so should we have a go at doing that? We'll continue on up here then to Mike, so we'll turn left and follow the visual reference point route in. So Jack is saying what graphics card processor. It's an i7 3.6 gigahertz. Graphics card is a NVIDIA 3080 RTX with they got 12 gig on them or 10? I can never remember, of RAM. It's got 16 gig of RAM on the PC itself. Perhaps most importantly, I've got fibre to the house internet. Actually rendering in the room, I could have it a lot smoother, or a lot more stress on the computer, I guess, because I'm rendering on a 4K screen here, and then I downrate it via OBS to 1080p for streaming or for recording. I just leave OBS doing hardware scaling of the image down to 1080p. Here comes the Model 18. Oh, no, it's not a Model 18. It's a... looks like a Diamond, but it's probably a substitute for something else. Or is it a Bonanza? Sorry, not a Bonanza. It's a twin of some kind. It's been substituted, though. That's a shame. Oh, maybe I haven't got it installed. I thought I did have it installed. So we're going to fly out towards Mike. So let's turn left another 15 degrees. And we'll hopefully be able to find the road junction and then fly south from it until we get to the lakes, turn left and join the entrance into the airfield. Just out of interest, obviously, yeah, the simulator, if we use air traffic control, is not going to understand anything of that. So if we went for nearest airport list, I bet it's not even a oh, it does have, look, Tune Tower. But it won't be the correct procedure, so we'll not bother with ATC because they'll just tell us to do left or right circuit. They won't necessarily have the correct pattern, let's put it that way. So we can see the railway track, which is here. So if we follow the railway track, I'm going to go manual now. I'm going to put us forwards in the cockpit as well so we can see it easily. How high can we get in the cockpit? Oh, we can't. That's as high as we can get. That's a shame. So we follow the railway track round, we should see a road junction. That it passes through. Is that here? I think it might be. Trying to get a look at the water to see where those puddles are, where the lake is. It's over there, isn't it? No, I don't think that is the junction might be over there. I'm not sure now. Perhaps it's further over there. Is that it? Possibly. We'll wait till we get there. Oh, the fun of VFR in Flight Sim. Trying to do things correctly for a change instead of just bombing around like a lunatic. Right, so this is the junction and the road. As you can see the on-ramps. Yeah, you can see it rendering it now. It's a lot of windmills, isn't it? So, we come down here until we are, there's the water. So let's just have a quick look at that on the map. We should need to be on the left side of the road then, over the top of the windmills, which doesn't inspire confidence. So as we follow round to the right, then we get to the water and we start descending. Presumably I can descend before we get to the water, otherwise we'll be skimming the top of the windmills. So let's sit up in our normal position. There's the runway. Just looking at the chart, yeah, so we want to go about 130 degrees when we turn. Which should then take us perpendicular to the runway. So over the water. Let's get the landing lights on as well. There's our 130. There's the runway. And then we start turning in. Slightly overshot the turn, but it's very difficult without a head tracker or a VR headset to anticipate turns, especially with aircraft that have got great big pillars. So as I said earlier in the flight, hopefully you're going to get hold of a Tobii eye tracker soon. A bit high as well. We can correct that on the way in. We've got a wicked crosswind going on. And it's gusting as well, which isn't helping. Okay, and we're down. Where should we park? A bit further down, I guess. Go for the next turn off. Okay. Pull the fuel. Turn the mags off. Landing lights off. Nav beacon strobe off. Pitot heat off. Avionics master off. Alternator off. And battery off. And we are cold and dark. There we go. Hopefully you enjoyed that today. So yeah, hopefully in, I don't know, I'm not sure when I'll buy it, but I'll try and get hold of a Tobii eye tracker, and it should make things a bit more dynamic inside the cockpit with being able to look around easily without using the mouse and the keyboard. So yeah, it should be good fun. So there we go, we kind of followed the route today of the Eurostar from London all the way up to Amsterdam. And then obviously we landed at Lelystad, is it called? I'm going to have to look up the name of this place properly, aren't I? Yeah, Lelystad. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon. I'm going to end the stream there. Please like the channel, or like the stream, subscribe, and yeah. You can tell I'm not a professional YouTuber, can't you? Anyway, I'll see you all soon. Take care, bye.